The Red Raiders are set to kick off their Big 12 slate against a new Big 12 foe in the Arizona State Sun Devils out at the Jones. And in today's video, we'll look over everything you need to know for this Big 12 matchup, including the latest injury update for your Red Raiders, players to know from both squads, odds, and my prediction. Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's RC Maxfield here for the Back to 12 podcast. And listen, we like to get interactive here on the channel. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, but also head down to the pinned comment and let me know who you have winning this Big 12 opener for the Red Raiders out in the 806. You got Arizona State or you got your Red Raiders? Let me know your score prediction down on the pinned comment below because, well, this one should be a fun one out in the 806. All right, let's jump right into it and set the scene for this one. As I mentioned, it will take place out in Lubbock, Texas at Jones AT&T Stadium. Kickoff is scheduled for 2:30 p.m. Central Time, and you can watch this one on FS1. Now, when you look at the injury update for the Red Raiders, the biggest one for this week going into Arizona State is that of at the running back position. No, it's not Taj Brooks. It's actually his backup. Well, at least his former backup now, because unfortunately, Cameran Valdez will miss the rest of the season with a knee injury. It's undisclosed exactly what it was, but Texas Tech has now listed him out for the year. That means you will see a lot more of true freshman Cam Dickey as well as Jacoby Williams. Coach McGuire said in his Arizona State press conference that, hey, we're going to use these guys now. The red shirt's probably off the table. You're going to see Jacoby Williams at least on special teams, but you'll likely see him in the Red Raider backfield as well. And you saw a little bit of what he could do against UNT, albeit in garbage time. But those two freshmen are going to get meaningful snaps for the Red Raiders moving forward. Now, elsewhere, out for ASU, is Charles Esters III, as well as Javeon Wilcox. They have missed every game so far this season and have been listed week to week, according to Texas Tech. Now, elsewhere on the Texas Tech roster in terms of questionable against the Sun Devils of Arizona State, you've got CJ Baskerville with a knee, backup quarterback Cameran Brown with a knee. You've got Jordan Brown, the guy who had a 42-yard reception in that game against UNT. He has a shoulder injury. Harvey Dyson is still lingering from that foot injury. He missed last week against UNT. There's a possibility he's back for that Red Raider edge group in the Big 12 opener. You've also got Brendan Jordan in the secondary with a shoulder injury, as well as Braylon Lux with a thigh. And then on the offensive line, Sterling Porche is still nursing that head injury. When it comes to players to watch for the Red Raiders, it starts with the quarterback, right? And Behren Morton, if you go look at the stats nationally, if he would have played in the second half and put up even remotely average numbers, there's a chance that he's the leading passer in all of college football. I know that seems crazy, but it's a reality. He's also second in the country in passing TDs. The offense, however, in just how good Behren Morton is going to be dictated pretty early in the game if Texas Tech really starts to go a little bit run heavy. And what I mean by run heavy is just make sure the defense respects it. They're obviously going to respect Taj Brooks. There's no doubt about it. But look what they did against UNT. That allowed Behren Morton and Zach Kitley to really open things up from the perspective of, okay, now we can do RPOs and we can do play action. And that just opens up the entire field, not only for the wide receivers and the skill position players on the outside, also the likes of Taj Brooks, who averaged 6 yards a carry against UNT. So those are the two offensive players to watch in this one for me. When it comes to the defense, I'm looking at the linebackers, most notably Ben Roberts and Jacob Rodriguez. And the reason being is this. We'll talk about him a little bit more here in just a second on the Arizona State side. But Sam Leavitt, the starting quarterback for Arizona State, is kind of like Matir, the guy you faced against Washington State. Now, I would say Matir probably ran more than he was going to in a normal situation against Texas Tech because it was working. It could be a similar situation there for the Sun Devils because Sam Leavitt is very athletic and has 3 rushing touchdowns already on the year. So I'm looking at the linebackers to help really contain and make sure there's kind of a spy on the quarterback so he cannot really just have these unscripted and off-kiltered plays in terms of, hey, keep him contained in the pocket and good things will happen. And that starts not only with your defensive line, but your linebackers as well, making sure that he can't run out and extend plays. All right. Speaking of Sam Levitt, let's get into a little bit more. He only has 3 passing touchdowns on the year, but he does have 3 rushing as well. As I mentioned, he is a guy you're going to need to know where he is at all times because he can push the ball down the field, but he is most known for extending plays and making defenses really, really stretch thin when it comes to how long they have to defend due to his legs. So that's one thing I'm watching. Another guy that is known for, running the football on Arizona State is that of their starting running back. And I might butcher his last name here, so please let me know if I butcher it in the comments. But it's Cam Skedabu. Either way, regardless of how you pronounce it, baller-ass last name. Anyway, he has 55 carries, 368 yards, and 3 TDs so far this season. Pretty damn good for 3 games, right? Averaging over, just about 120 rushing yards per game. He is a guy that you have to be sure tackled with. He can run you over, but he's also got a little wiggle in him, right? He's kind of like Taj in that regard, where Taj isn't afraid to lower the shoulder and get into the defender, but he can juke you out a little bit too. So that's a guy you're going to have to watch for on offense alongside Sam Levitt. Look for them to use RPOs and really extend plays in terms of using those two, getting out to the edge and stretching out a defense. Now, speaking of the defense, on the Arizona State side, the guy to know is Miles Rouser, like Bowser, but Rouser. Another baller-ass nickname. He could be the primary defender on Josh Kelly. It doesn't look like he's kind of a shadow guy. Not many of those guys really exist at the collegiate level, but he is a guy that typically does play on the Josh Kelly side of the field, at least the side of the field Josh Kelly has played the majority of his snaps on, which is the left side, i.e. the defense is right. So far this season, he has 28 tackles on the year, and it'll be a matchup to watch in terms of how often is Rouser on Josh Kelly in this game on Saturday afternoon. When it comes to the must-watch matchup in this one, I think most people would probably agree with this, or they would flip it the other way. But I went to the Texas Tech defensive line against the Arizona State offensive line. And the reason being is what we talked about when we discussed Sam Levitt there, mentioning, hey, he can extend plays. If he gets outside of the pocket, he is dangerous in terms of not only trying to push the ball downfield, but he can also run, extend drives on those 3rd and 5s and really pick up the down and distance himself. So if you can contain guys into the pocket, most notably Levitt, and then you keep the running back between the tackles, that allows a better chance for your linebackers to come in and really help you there. And then it's 6-on-5s or a hat for a hat. And you like those a lot better in terms of the matchups than you do if they get to the edge, because it could be 1-on-2. So I think it's going to be a containment game, and that was something that Texas Tech did a lot better against UNT, forcing them to pass the ball and even eliminating a lot of their screen game outside of that one busted coverage play where they scored their lone touchdown with the starters, did UNT. So I think that that's one thing that I'm watching for most, is just the battle of the trenches, but the Texas Tech defensive line against Arizona State's offensive line. When it comes to the odds for this one, Texas Tech opened up as a 3.5-point favorite. That line has now switched to about 2.5 on most sports books. The one that I noticed the most is FanDuel, and that's what they have right now. The total is set at 58.5. Again, the Red Raiders last week against UNT were absolutely sensational in all 3 facets of the game, just absolutely dominant. The thing is this is not UNT anymore. But I do think Texas Tech exercised a lot of demons last week, and they will have a chip on their shoulder proving, hey, this wasn't a one-hit wonder. And we all know at this point, if you're a Red Raider fan, Texas Tech and Joey McGuire teams play better at the Jones. And I, in fact, think Texas Tech will get their first Big 12 victory of the year, beating Arizona State by a score of 33-30 out in the Jones. All right, that's going to do it for your preview. That's everything you need to know going into the Big 12 opener for your Texas Tech Red Raiders. But before you head out, do me a couple favors. Like the video and then go down to the pinned comment and let me know your score prediction for Arizona State at Texas Tech. Again, this is a big game for the Red Raiders. You get out to 1-0 in the Big 12. You have another home game in the Big 12 conference slate next week against Cincinnati. You're not obviously looking, ahead to that, but you have a chance if you're Texas Tech to get out to 2-0 start in the Big 12 and 4-1 before you head out to Arizona. You have to capitalize on this opportunity if you're the Red Raiders and do what you do best when you're at home, and that is win football games. All right. I am RC Maxfield. If you want to join the largest group of Texas Tech fans here on YouTube, do these 3 simple steps. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3 in terms of joining the most engaged group of Texas Tech fans here on YouTube. And the best part about it, it's 100% free. All you got to do is these 3 simple steps. Like the video, hit that subscribe button, and while you're at it, you might as well turn on that notification bell.